Hi and welcome to this next instalment in my C# for Beginners series. Today we're actually going to start doing a very basic bit of coding, and we're also going to look at some of the comparisons as to how those basic codings work in 3 different IDEs. So let's get started by talking about top-level statements. Top-level statements are something that was introduced from .NET 6 onwards. And I'm going to start by doing this one in Visual Studio. So we're going to create a console application. And we can give it a name, something next. I'm going to stay with .NET 6. Give it just a moment. Right, now in this one we didn't use the top level statements. That little tick box was unchecked. This is the old style. So if I close that solution and create another one again, this time, because this is the default, what you saw then was the old version. This is what we're going to be using in all these tutorials from this point onwards. And that's this. It's the top level statement. If you want to see more on that, it's in some of my other videos. I will put links in the description and it's on the blogs. I just wanted to very quickly cover that now, because you will see those differences on a number of tutorials across the web. So we're starting with a Hello World program, and that is literally what we have here. Console, so it's going to be a program that outputs to the console, and we're going to write a line of text to the console, and the text we're going to write is this bit inside the quotes here, Hello World. And all I need to do in Visual Studio is click the Run button, or I can go to a debug menu and use the F5 or Control F5 buttons. And this is where Visual Studio differs from the other IDEs. It opens a console window, you see the output here, and then it asks you to close it. Now, if I bring up VS Code first, I'd go to a very similar place. This time I need to go to the Run menu. You'll notice that the shortcut keys are exactly the same, F5, Control F5. However, the output is inside the window here. And we've got the Hello World output, and that's there. You will also notice that these don't look like the Windows locations you saw in Visual Studio. That's because in this particular case I'm running VS Code in Linux while I'm running Visual Studio in Windows. I'm going to bring Rider now across. Again, this time Rider is running under Linux. It would work in Visual Studio, in Windows in exactly the same way. So if I click the Run or the Debug button, it'll start the output here, and we saw the Hello World there. So once again, if I just run that, it's in the build and we're on Hello World. Again, inside the actual IDE. But other than that, essentially the same process. So that's covered those. Now let's have a quick talk about data types. People that come from languages like Python, where data types don't have to be specified, this can feel a bit alien. But we need to talk about data types and variables now. A variable is simply a place in memory where we store something. Think of it a bit like a box. You put a label on a box, put something in it, and you can take that box, find it by the label, and pull something out. It's the same principle. Difference is that we have to specify the data type in C#. So if I want to store a piece of text, I have to call it a string. And I might say that's going to be a string user name. And then I might do replace the console dot write line statement from before. Please tell me your name. Do notice that I'm ending all of these with a semicolon. Every instruction line in C# must end with a semicolon, as it is in most C-based languages. Okay, so now I'm going to get the username from there, equals console.readLine. And then I'm going to do a console.writeLine. And inside there, I'm going to pass in username. Now, those eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed this is underlined in green. That generally means that there's something not quite right with that code. I'm going to come back to that shortly. For now, I just want to run this to show you how it works. So we've got the window that says, please tell me your name. So it took it in and it's output there. So that first one was one I typed, and that's the one it's actually output. Okay, so let's just quickly put that code into our other two IDEs before we go any further. Start with Rider. So yes, we've got two lots of underlining here. But if I run it, exactly the same idea. And if I come across to VS Code, same idea. Run. And it's done exactly what we said. The only difference is in here, it's actually separating out the where you input and the output area. But still, it's essentially the same thing. Okay, next. I did say I was going to look at this underline. Now, if I hover over this, we can see that it kind of hints at what the problem is here. It tells you we're dealing with characters, but it's a little bit jargony, especially for somebody new to coding. What you can do is click on Show Potential Fixes, which actually doesn't really give you anything helpful. The most helpful thing here, okay, normally if I click on one of these, it will give me a drop down, and all it's doing is giving me options to suppress the warning, which you could, but let me bring back Rider, because Rider handles this a little bit better. So I clicked on it, then I did that, and now it's suggesting that I change the type of the local variable username to string. So it's changing that but with a question mark, and all it's going to do is add a question mark there. That's saying that we can allow a null type. It was warning us that you could potentially get an answer back that contains nothing. Null encoding literally means nothing. It's like a vacuum in space, absolutely nothing whatsoever. And generally that's a bad idea. So the IDE is saying to us, if you wish to allow that possibility that we will get nothing back, I want you to tell me explicitly that this will be okay. And we do that by adding the question mark. Now, Rider, in my opinion, in this case, is slightly better than Visual Studio. So in other ways, Visual Studio is the king, but it's offering also for me to join declaration assignment. Now, what does that mean? This is where I'm declaring my string variable. And then here, I am assigning the console read line, or what gets returned from console read line, to there, which basically means I'm putting the data I get from this into the username variable like a box. And that's suggesting that I can join those. That's using var, but you can see it's replacing it with string, so I could just as easily still keep string question mark. Right, thank you for watching. I know this has been quite quick, but I just wanted to give you this first very quick introduction into actually creating a variable, giving it a type, which is string, giving it a name, and then assigning some information. I could also do that very directly, so string user equals so again, exactly the same. And again, this is underlining here because it's telling me it's been assigned but never used. Let's see, actually, does Visual Studio give us the same level of warning for that one? Yeah, so if I hover over this, it's telling us that it's assigned but never used. In other words, it could be deleted because we don't do anything with it later. Right, I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight. One last thing before we do, I want to redo this console because watch, I'm going to type in the letter C and it's already given me console, so I can hit the enter key, dot, and it's already suggesting the right line, but I can either press the tab key or I can just press the enter key here, open the brackets, it fills them in for me, type a single quote, it puts both of them in for me. And then all I need to do is put the semicolon on the end. So all the time you're using the IDE to help you build that code. So you can see all the options and it will speed up your coding and it will make it more accurate. Okay, thank you for watching. This has been a very quick introduction into the very first stages of coding using C# in Visual Studio, Rider and VS Code. Thank you. Bye.